Welcome back to this video of the video series on the topic of KNX Security. In this video we want to take a look at KNX Data Secure in practice. So what is important to know and how we can implement KNX Data Secure into our KNX project. Therefore, first of all, I have prepared a little example. Here in this little KNX network we have a KNX multi-IO 570, a KNX switching actuator 530, then a KNX switching actuator 510.1, which supports Secure, and a match 55 push button sensor, which also supports Secure. So you can see we have a KNX network that consists of components which support Secure and that don't support Secure. And this isn't a problem at all. The only thing that we have to think about is that only the communication between the secure devices is capable of being secured. And the communication between unsecure and secure devices needs to be unsecured, because otherwise the unsecure devices couldn't take part in this communication. But let's make that clear in an example. So when I now press the push button to turn on the light on the secure switching actuator, only the secure push button and the secure switching actuator are part of the communication or part of this group address. Therefore, this telegram can be secured. So the push button sensor is creating the secure telegram, it locks it and encrypts it, and will then send it to the switching actuator, which is then capable of unlocking this telegram and turning on one of its outputs. Now in the second example, with the second rocker, I have a central function, because with this rocker I want to turn on the channel 2 of the secure switching actuator and the channel 1, as well as the light on the unsecure switching actuator, as well as the multi-IO. So here we have a group address which has group objects from unsecure and secure devices. And now in this case the data telegram can't be encrypted because the unsecure devices aren't capable of uncrypting it. And so therefore in this case an unsecure telegram is being sent, which can be read out by everyone that is connected to this KNX twisted pair line. So now that we know that, let us take a look at the requirements. As you saw, not every device has to support Secure, but encrypted communication is only possible with secure devices. So group addresses are only encrypted if only secure devices are linked to it. Another requirement is that the project is password protected. And last but not least, we have to import the KNX Secure keys, which we will see soon. So now that we know the theoretical knowledge, let us take a look at the practical use. So in order to showcase you KNX Data Security in practice, I have prepared a little example project. So in this example project, I want to use a KNX IO 534, which is an unsecured dimmer, in combination with a match 55 push button sensor, so the 420 secure, as well as a switching actuator 510.1, which is also a secure device. With the left rocker, I only want to turn on and off the switching output of the secure switching actuator, so secure communication. And with the second rocker, I want to create a central function where I can turn on the dimmer as well as the switching output of the switching actuator. So therefore, let us first of all import the secure devices. You can see I have already imported the dimmer. Now I will import the push button sensor. So I go down here to Weinzierl and then the 420 secure, which is the push button sensor. And now you can already see that the EDS6 is prompting me to create a password, which I will quickly do. Now in this case I use a weak password because it's simply an example. Of course, you should create a strong password for your project. And now what I should do next is that I should add the device certificate. And this device certificate now imports the keys that are necessary for the secure functionality to work. So you now have two options. You can either scan the QR code, which is printed on the device or on the secure information card, or you can also manually input the key here, which I will quickly do now. Now that I have inputted the security key, I can check it against the serial number and the factory key, which is also printed onto the device. Now I can click on OK, and you can see that I have imported the device with secure functionality, which you can see here displayed with this shield icon. Then the next device which I want to add is the 510.1, so the secure switching actuator. I also click here on the twisted pair line, and then again I have to enter the security key of the device. And again I can check it against the serial number and the factory key, click on OK, and with that I now have added the secure devices. I quickly change for this example project the physical addresses. And then we can start to parameterize the devices. So first of all I will start with the push button sensor and the secure switching actuator. So therefore I open up the group addresses and quickly create a lighting group address, switching, and then for example light kitchen. And in here I will now parameterize the push button sensor. So the button A0 is for switching on, and A1 is for switching and switching off. With that I have the two group objects, and I simply drag and drop it into my group address here, and you can now see that due to the fact that in this group address at the moment are only secure group objects or group objects of secure devices, we can see that this group address will get encrypted by KNX Data Security. Now I will add the switching actuator, channel A, enabling it as a universal output, and I will also link this to the light kitchen. And with that we have created a secure group address. So the only thing that I need to do now is that I have to program the devices, which I will quickly do off camera. So now that everything is programmed, we will take a look into the diagnostics to see whether everything has worked as intended. So I click here on the diagnostics and then start the group monitor. And now I turned on and turned off the light by pressing the left rocker of the push button sensor. But we can still see the values of the telegram. Why is that? Well, if you take a closer look, you can see that these two telegrams have a different color. And this color means that secure telegrams have been sent. Now that I currently have open the KNX Security project here, the EDS6 knows the keys and therefore can display the correct values here. But if I make a right click here on top, I can enable or disable the security field. And here you can see that data security has been used. Now let us take a look at how an attacker would see this telegram. So if I don't have this project, therefore I will quickly close this project here and open a new one with the diagnostic tools. So now I have opened up an empty project. I will click here on start with the correct interface here, and then we will see how an attacker would see these telegrams on the KNX bus. So you can see the group address, but you can't see the value inside of it, as here we just see an hexadecimal code and we can see that the type here is secure. So this is how an attacker would see this telegram. And if I now would try to simply send a telegram onto this group address, let's say with the value switch and the value off, and if I write, I can write this telegram onto the KNX bus, but nothing is happening because the switching actuator ignores this telegram as this isn't secure. But let us go back to the secure project and now add the central functionality. So I'm back here in the secure project, and first of all I will create a group address which I simply name central. And now in this group address I want to first of all link the push button sensor, the second rocker, so button B0 and B1, one of it for off and the other should switch on. I go back and link those two objects into this group address. Then I go to my secure switching actuator, use my output here. Now you can see the group address is still secure. And what we should now see when I use here this dimming on off group object and I link it to the central group address, that the central group address will now change to unsecure. And you can see here we are getting security notice that both group addresses change to unsecure. But why is that? Well, I quickly cancel here and let us take a closer look. So what this will do is that it will make all of these group objects here unsecure. So B0, B1 of our push button sensor and the group object 11 here, so the switching output. And if I take a look into the other group address, well then this group object is also used here. So here this group object also goes to unsecure, and therefore both group addresses will be unsecure. So especially for central functions, you have to make sure that you use another group object of here, for example, the switching actuator. So maybe you can use a central group object function, because otherwise the group object gets unsecure, and so therefore all the group addresses this group object is linked to also goes to unsecure. So it's sort of a domino effect. But how can we fix this? So first of all, we can either use a second group object here for our switching actuator, which we don't have in this case. But we can create a second object here for our push button sensor. So I go into my parameters and to button B0 and enable the object B, which does the exact same thing. The same here for our second button, just in this case with switching off. Now you can see that we have two group objects per button. What I do now is I add another group address, central unsecure, and I will rename this here to central secure. And in this unsecure group address, I will link these object B group objects and the unsecure dimming actuator. Now you can see only this group address is changed to an unsecure group address. So we don't have this domino effect. I click here on OK, and with that we have secure communication between secure devices and an unsecure communication where it is necessary. Now I quickly download everything onto the devices. So now that the download has finished, I open up the diagnostics and will start the group monitor so that we can see what happens when I now press the central function. So as you can see, I have now turned on the central function, and now in this case we have two telegrams. And the same thing applies if I now turn off the central function. And this is due to the fact that we have two group addresses. One for central secure and one for central unsecure. And as you can see by the color of the telegrams, everything has worked as intended and the central secure function is indeed secure. So this is how you can enable KNX Data Security in your KNX network.